So in this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to set up an LLC in the state of Texas. Now, this can feel pretty difficult. It can look kind of scary, but I want to break this down into 7 simple steps here so that you can make sure that you set up your LLC properly. I've seen people make mistakes on this where maybe they set up their operating agreement wrong, or they get the wrong type of EIN, or they don't understand what a registered agent is. I'm going to cover all of that in today's video. We set up over a dozen LLCs in the past like 7 or 8 years. So we've done this quite a bit, and I want to just make this as simple as possible. Feel free to skip around if you would like to, but let's go ahead and get into the video. Here are the 7 basic steps that we're going to go over in today's video. So let's start off with the first one, which is actually just making sure that an LLC is the right company for you. Now, I assume that a lot of people came onto this video because they already know they want to start an LLC, but there are other options as well. Things like sole proprietorship, C corporation, like if you want to be incorporated, you would take that route. And all of these different processes are different depending on the type of company that you want to create in the state of Texas. For a lot of people, including myself, I usually set up LLCs, limited liability companies is what they're also known as. And so that's what we're talking about in today's video. Just make sure that you actually want an LLC and not something else. We do have a video coming out, sharing like the differences between C corporations, LLCs, partnerships, nonprofits, joint ventures, everything else that you might need to know there. But if you know you're doing an LLC, then stick with this video. Step number 1 in this process is to name your LLC. So there's a couple of different things that you need to know about this particular section, and it's that you're going to have to create a business name that is not already used in the state of Texas. So if you want to do business in Texas, you can't start a company called like McDonald's LLC and sell burgers, because there's already a company that does that. And so there's actually a way to do this. Every state has a website where you'll be able to search if there's already a company that exists that is pretty similar to what you want to start. So let's say that I want to start a company called Lone Star Monkey Automotive, right? If I wanted to do that, I would just go to this right here, which is part of, I will leave a link to this down below to have this ability to search for the state of Texas to see if an entity or a business already exists with a name like that. So let's say that I wanted to do Lone Star Monkey Automotive, like a car garage, and that business name was not found. So it looks like we should be good for that, right? But you can see here, like, just to make sure it works, if we look at McDonald's, we're going to find it there, right? And McDonald's already exists in the state of Texas. So if you type in a business name and it pops up here and there's already a company that exists in the state of Texas, then that's something you probably want to be aware of, because you might get rejected for your application and end up like wasting money to get this pushed through if it's, if you're trying to create a business where the name already exists, especially if it's for the same type of business, it's going to be a little bit difficult. Now, on top of that, when doing your name search and coming up with the name for your LLC, I also recommend going and doing a U.S. federal trademark search. I believe it's called TEST, but let me just check. And so I will also link to this down below as well, but it is uspto.gov, specifically looking at the trademarks. We can just search on the trademark database here. And what this will do is it'll help us to avoid any type of, hopefully avoid lawsuits in the future. If someone else, maybe in a different state has a similar business name, you could still run into problems, especially if it's like an online business. All right. And then I'm going to do a basic word search here and do Lone Star Monkey Automotive. Click on submit, and there are no records of that. So it looks like there's no trademarks. Nobody else has a company called Lone Star Monkey Automotive. So we should be good on that. That gives us mostly the all clear. Sometimes there still are other things, like it's good to do some Google searches to make sure that the company is not in existence anywhere else. So in the second half of this video, I'm also going to be showing you step by step how to go through this process. You can use something like Doula, which is a service that helps you to set up your LLC. It makes it a lot easier. Like if you've gotten to this video and you're confused, you're like, how do I set up this LLC? I don't want to mess something up. Then I do recommend using a service like Doula. We use it for ourselves to set up LLCs. It's definitely worth the cost. I'll show you them later on in the video. After you come up with a name for your LLC, you're also going to need something known as a registered agent. And so what this is that in the state of Texas, and actually in I believe every state, you need to have a registered agent. You need to have a place where someone is present, usually from, I forget the specific hours, but it's about like 9 to 5, where someone can receive mail, because you need someone to be able to receive mail for like lawsuits or anything along those lines. And so if you don't want to use your house, you're going to need to pay somebody basically for almost like a mailbox, but you can't use like a UPS box, and you can't use a PO box. It has to be a specific place where someone is physically present during the day. Now, this could be your house. You can use your house for this, but the problem is that this is public information. And so once you set up, Lone Star Monkey Automotive, if you use your house as the address when you fill out the state forms, this is going to be public, and people can look up your company on the Texas database and find out basically where you live. And so that's why a lot of people opt to use something like Doula, where you pay them a fee every year and you use their address in the state of Texas so that, your home is not public information for everyone to see, right? There are other options outside of Doula. You can use things like Inkfile, hardware compliance, but you do need to have a registered agent, so make sure you lock that down as well. The next step here is creating articles of organization, and this is specifically for Texas. It's going to be a couple of forms you have to fill out on the Texas website. Now, you can do this manually if you would like to, and I will leave a link to that down below as well, but we are going to use Doula for this in the latter half of this video to show you how to create your articles of organization in like 5 seconds rather than spending too much time on that, trying to figure it out and filling out the wrong boxes. So the next thing you need to do is create an operating agreement. The reason why this is very important, and I don't believe all states require this when creating an LLC, but you really should have one, is because this is going to outline who owns the company, what percent of the company they own, outline all the terms of like what happens if this scenario happens, what happens if somebody dies. Like, you're going to have a full operating agreement to determine everything in the process of how the company is going to be operated. And especially, it's important for understanding who owns the company and their equity splits in that company. So if it's just you, that's fine, but you still should create an operating agreement because it's going to really, hash out a lot of things that could be pretty difficult if you don't have one of these. Now, you can create one of these pretty easily. I think for my first operating agreement, I just found some template online that I bought for like $10, and I used that as an operating agreement. If you go to a lawyer, like a local lawyer, they'll probably just find a template online as well and then just plug in your information. So you can do this yourself, or if you're using a service like Doula, they do that for you and they help you out with that process. And they bundle in a lot of cool features there. The next step is to get an EIN, an employer identification number. And basically, think of this as like, this is like the social security number for your business. You know how like when you get a job or you sign up for like a credit card, it asks for your social security number? Well, in the same way that you have that for personal stuff, an EIN is the social security number for a business. It's really easy to get one of these as well. If you're using Doula, they'll like automatically get one for you in their service, but you can also go on to, I believe it's the IRS. I'll leave a link to it down below. So getting an EIN is pretty simple. If you're using Doula, then they're going to help you through this process and get it for you. But if you're not using Doula or some other service to help you set up this LLC, you can do this manually, just going to irs.gov/ a bunch of different slugs there. So I'll just leave a link to that down below where you can apply for your EIN. It's pretty easy to do. You can get this like very quickly just by clicking on this button for applying and then filling out some information on your business. And then you'll get that EIN, which like I said, is like the social security number for a business. You're going to need it when you get paid from other companies and a lot of other things. Okay. All right. So now let me show you how to create your LLC. I'm going to walk you through the process here using Doula. And so just for some references here, like we've created LLCs using this company. The best part about this is that like this is especially useful for people who are maybe outside of the United States and you might not have certain like documents or information. They're really good with that and they can help you with that. That's very useful. But comparing them to some other services as well, like they're going to do the registered agent service for you. You're going to get the operating agreement. You're going to get the EIN. They're going to form the company for you. And so for all of that, I think it's a pretty great deal. And so let's go ahead and get into it and launch this. So I'm going to click on get started. They're going to need some basic information, but this is one of the fastest processes I've seen for anyone to help you set up your LLC. And I would just view this sort of as like an investment, and it really does help a lot in just like making sure that you don't do the wrong thing. I remember the first LLC that I created, I entered the wrong information and the operating agreement was wrong. The articles of organization were wrong, and it was just a big mess, and I had to call the state, and it was a big problem. So let me enter my information and we'll continue on here. Okay, and then I'm just going to enter my country of residence. I live in the United States. Make sure that you fill this out properly and you don't lie about this because like I said, like they do help people. If you live in India or you live in Germany or somewhere outside the US, they are helpful for a lot of other countries. So I'm in the US. Let me just put that in there and then continue on here. Okay, and then they offer 3 different options here. So we have LLC, C corporation, or a DAO LLC. Most people are going to do an LLC. That's the one that I want today. And like I said, we will also create a video showing the differences between LLCs and C corporations, but even Doula has some things here where we can compare differences between the entities. All right, so we're going to continue on here. Now we're choosing the state for our LLC. So we want Texas, and this should be where you're planning on doing business. So, if you live in New York and you're creating a Texas LLC, sometimes that can make sense, but really you should create the LLC in the state in which you reside. It just makes things a little bit easier, but that's really up to you. So we're doing this in the state of Texas. Now the state of Texas is going to charge us money. There's no way around the state filing fee. Every state's going to charge some money for that on top of what Doula is doing for us. So let's continue on here. All right, and then we are creating our company. So Monkey, what's the company called? Monkey Lone Star. All right, and now we're entering our company name. And then also you're going to see this bar over here where it says LLC. This is going to be on your documents. It's going to be on everything. So you can decide if you want it to be LLC or have the dots in between or say limited liability company. I suggest just doing plain LLC like that. And then we're going to continue on here. And now we're just getting to the end page here where it's going to show us what we're getting from Doula. So they're doing our formation filings. They're doing our EIN registration for us. They're doing our operating agreement for us. And then also they're providing us that registered agent service, which is pretty important unless you want to use your own house, which I really wouldn't recommend doing because, as I said earlier, that's going to be public information. People can see that and you probably don't want that. Now we're going to click on next. And then you're going to have some upsells in here and you can decide whether or not you want this. And so if you want expedited formation, I honestly don't think you need this. And so I'm going to say no thanks. Unless you really want to start this like tomorrow and you want to get rolling, I don't mind waiting a week for my company. Annual state compliance, this is pretty good to get. I would suggest doing this. This just makes sure that you stay in line with things. When I'm running a business, especially as you grow your business, you don't want to be nuisanced with like these little things that pop up. And I would rather Doula handle these for me. So I would like that. And then the tax package is probably going to be really useful as well. But you know, if you can't afford that, then it's understandable if you skip that for now, but definitely can circle back on that later on. You can see how easy the process is here for them and what they're doing for us. And so there is that state filing fee. And then we're also paying for that other thing. And then we can continue on here. Like the process is so much easier doing it through a company like this rather than trying to do it on your own. And that's why we like it. And then we just get to the payment page. And so I'm going to fill out my information here. I guess I'm going to start this LLC, Lone Star Monkey Automotive. I don't know what I would do with that organization, but they cover the entire process for us. And so it's pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward. And I will leave, if we have any special discount codes or anything, I will leave those down below in the description on this video. If you have any questions or issues, definitely leave a comment down below or shoot me a message on Instagram or on Twitter, and I'll try my best to help you out. I know people can get pretty confused with this, but this is the basic process of creating an LLC. Now, the seventh step that I didn't mention was just setting up a bank account for your company. And this is something that you can do once you get your EIN and you get your company formed, you get your operating agreement in line, then you take all of those documents to your local bank or, you know, go online somewhere, and then you can create your bank account with those documents. So yeah, that's the process of setting up an LLC in Texas. I hope this was helpful and useful for you, and I'll see everybody sometime in a future video. Make sure you subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you next time.